Welcome back. Another episode, Paper Stack
Podcast.
I'm Rick Allen. This is Brett Berkey, my esteemed colleague, co-founder, friend, buddy, compadre.
Yeah, man.
So, how things going? Good?
Yeah. Just cranking away with the stuff we got on the site. Some new features. I'm just dying to spill the beans, but I can't. So, once those things are out, though.
Well, we could play a little game. I don't know when this podcast is going to be out. When will this go out?
A couple weeks from now. So
no, probably everybody will know by then. We should do a snackable and put out a snackable. Like, we'll give away a new T-shirt to the first person that can respond and tell me what's different on the platform.
Oh, yeah. Well, one of them's already there, so.
Yes, but I'm talking about the thing that's very seasonal that's been released.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So I think if we do a snackable, put that out there, that'd be good. Anyways.
Yeah.
Some new stuff coming. Really excited about a couple new features. One's already been released. Haven't really talked about it much. My feed is out. And then we have this other feature that we're going to do a release on. So it's been a lot of dev work going on.
Yeah, Mike's pounding away in his closet somewhere, knocking it all out. But yeah, so today we actually have a pretty interesting guest.
We do have a great guest. I'm so excited about this one. This is guest number three.
Yeah.
And this is a good one. Home run hitter here. Guy has been in the industry buying investment property in the real estate investment space since '89. So that I was 10 when he got started. So I can learn a lot from him. We can all learn a lot from him. I have learned a lot from him.
Yeah. We what I learned on the interview, I was some of the stuff I was like, wow, I've never heard of that concept, and just the idea of the velocity stuff.
There's tons of stuff. Get out your pen and paper. There's tons of little nuggets in here talking about leverage. We talk a little bit about the story, a little bit about strategy, a little bit about some municipalities that rule with an iron fist. So it's great. It's a great episode. We got Dave Van Horn for you from PR Notes. Yes, he's got a couple funds, 160 million under management. So he is, if you're in the space and you're looking how to go from one notes to 160 million, this is a good guy. If you're looking to invest, he's got a couple funds if you're accredited investors. So it's definitely something worth a listen. This one runs a little bit longer, probably around
40 minutes.
45 minutes. So a little longer than normal. You're going to find that when we do these interviews.
Yeah, the interviews are going to be definitely a little bit long.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably
kind of hard to just stop it at 30 minutes when there's so much.
There's so much to cover. We could have kept going. Yeah. I know there's some other people that we'd like to have on that I know will go longer than they're gonna go at least to an hour, maybe some more than that, just depending on how conversations roll. And so, anyways, that's what we have for you. Thank you for tuning in. You're really gonna enjoy this one. So, without any further ado,
here it is.
All right, here we are. Dave Van Horn, man. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to join us.
My pleasure, guys.
Yeah, I've been so excited about this one, talking to you for a while. When I got into the note business, I guess it was 2012, you're one of the first names I sort of came across was Dave Van Horn, and learned a lot from you, even back then in Dr. Google. So it's a pleasure to meet you.
Yep.
I think what we were doing in 2012. Yeah, we did a lot of junior liens, and we used to do a little bit of education too. We used to give folks a practice note, which is kind of crazy looking back, but we did something. But it was a good way for folks to get started because they could actually have a note in their hand and go record it and hire an attorney, send a demand letter, all that good stuff.
That's awesome. That's really that's the best way. That's the way I learn is kind of jumping in and getting my hands dirty. So, I jumped in, like I said, in 2012. I'd love to hear your story. I know, PPR, have you been around since '89? Is that right?
Well, I started investing in real estate in '89.
Okay.
I didn't start notes till later. And for me, notes, I went to like the RIA meetings and met, like the Donna Bowers. Who was the investment debt guy? I actually saw him speak. I bought his book for like $15 cash. Jimmy Napier.
Jimmy
was one of the first speakers on notes that I ever saw. I just joined the arena. It was like one of the first Saturday meetings, and there's Jimmy Napier, right, with his Invest in Debt book. And then, Pete Fortunato and Jack Miller and all those guys, Robert Sheeman, you run into, they'd all be talking notes. And so I started that at first. I would hold seconds when I flipped the property to a buddy or did owner financing, that kind of stuff. And then started doing hard money lending out of my IRA, my lines of credit on my properties. And that's kind of what started the notes. And then I used to run an investment group of real estate investors, and I would interview speakers. We had a speaker out of New York that was raising capital for pools of delinquent mortgages. And I'll bet you 3 years went by before I did anything since hearing that person speak. But my partner invested money in the business, and one thing led to another. It was right before the downturn. He was a mortgage officer, loan officer. I was a Remax agent at the time, owned a title company, and did property management and all that kind of stuff. And we knew there was going to be a downturn. I literally went from selling 80 houses a year to about 7.
Oh man, it was. I remember. I was at circa, I guess, 2005. I was doing flipping real estate with, I joined a wholesale firm, a nationwide wholesale company, was learning it. And, we were moving tons of inventory, and I knew there was a problem when I would send somebody for a refi to my buddy, and they were, who was a mortgage officer, loan officer. And he was faxing stuff back and forth to different fax machines in his office. So it would blur things enough. And I go, oh, this isn't good. This is bad. There's going to be a downturn for sure. There's so much bad paper. So so 2005-ish, it sounds like, is kind of when you started looking at it. And what was it, maybe 2008?
Yeah, it was interesting. I actually bought one of my last rental properties, but one of my, I stopped for a while. It was 2006. I had purchased a property, fixed it up, refied it. And then after that, I paused because everything kind of tanked. I was lucky. I had a pretty good book. I had about 40 units. So I was able to live off my units. And then we started PPR. It was here's what's funny. We had a short sale company in the office, and the short sale name was on the sign. And we had PPR to no company was just my partner in the back room, just doing some administrative stuff. And we started out pulling our own money together, and then, got a proof of concept, and then started to raise some money. And I had already been raising money for commercial real estate. And that was one of the reasons my partner teamed up with me, because he knew I could raise money. And I had a pretty big network. And then, we started out and just grew, and then, expanded from there. And then we just started raising more money. The short sale company obviously went out of business, and we changed the sign. Nice. And then it's, kind of taken off ever since. It's grown quite a bit.
When did you sort of make that jump into full-time notes?
It's funny. My partner, John, was the first one to do full-time, and he started out, as the asset manager, and I was raising capital. My other partner, Bob, at first was raising capital. And then I started doing asset management as well. So John and myself did asset management. And then we trained Bob, and then Bob was way better than both of us. And John went back into acquisitions and stuff. And I was out raising capital. And then Bob started to oversee all the asset managers that we had at the time. Today, we've kind of changed again. We're less of an asset management shop and more of a capital management shop.
Yeah, you guys do. You raise a lot of capital. I guess you've got, is it 150?
It's 160 now, right?
We're probably past that now. And we also have MRAs, which are basically lines of credit as well. So we have some joint ventures too, where we kind of catapulted quite a bit.
Are you guys still wholly focused on notes, or have you guys sort of diversified and now you're kind of all, got a lot of things?
Yes. We do have, a JV partner that we do a lot of non-performing with. We still do some asset management, but not as much as we used to. And we're mostly first. Most of our capital's in first, and and seconds like it was when we first started out. We started out in the junior lien space. Lower barrier to entry with capital at first.
Sure.
But then it starts to become, can you get enough supply? Can you get it consistently? So obviously we worked into the first lien space. We didn't know any better. We just kind of, it wasn't like, we're like, oh, this lien position's better. We should do this. But no, it was really just learning how to manage risk, and we were comfortable with it. And we were kind of taught that from sellers that we bought stuff from. They didn't have any courses when I started.
No, that was going to be my next question. This
other than the owner financing type stuff, but and then things kind of. You're right. Today we do more on the commercial note side, especially with short-term business loans or hard money lending. We're a lot of seed capital for some of that. And we work with a platform that sells REO and pre-REO properties, so we do a lot of that. We disposition a lot of REO ourselves too.
Yeah.
I kind of oversee some of that department.
Are you guys?
I have a strong real estate background.
Yeah, for sure. As an agent, I assume you're a broker or have been for a while.
I'm a bad agent. Like, you don't want to hire me to be your agent. I'm the worst agent ever at this point. But I've been an agent a long time. It's well over 30 years. I mean.
Yeah, I'm a broker myself, and I would say that as far as real estate agents and fitting that mold, I'm terrible at that. I feel like once you leave that role and you start doing the investing side, you become really good at knowing real estate, but not really good at wanting to put people in your car and drive them around.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time I was a good agent. It's just not for me now. But I have nothing against it. We work with a lot of REO agents. I have an REO agent gal in my office. She's amazing. You could tell her, hey, Amy, disposition 1,000 assets, and she'd be like, okay, that's her wheelhouse. That's her thing.
So are you guys selling REO one-off, or are you guys pulling them up and kind of selling them off to other institutional capital or other smaller funds? Or a little bit both?
I mean, things were a little slow with the moratoriums a little bit, but it's actually starting to open back up quite a bit. We got quite a few scheduled for March. Now, up until now, about half of them would get postponed, some of them. And some vacants you can get through. Some states are easier than others. But it's going to open. It should be opening back up full blast for sure. And by I'd say the second half of this year.
Sure.
We'll probably be moving quite a bit of REO that was, pent up from last year, which we kind of expected.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I answered your question. What was your question?
No.
Question again?
I was saying, do you guys just liquidate those one-off? So if people are interested in buying,
in bulk tape,
or do you bulk tape them out to other small funds?
No, we usually, it's funny you say that because, we usually get best execution post-sale, post-foreclosure sale. In fact, in some cases, we're intentionally driving up bids at the sale because we'll get better execution post-sale.
Yeah,
and in that first 60 days post-sale, because there's a shortage of deals, prices are up in a lot of markets. That's really what's happening.
Sure. So
I just had three listings this week that sold for $130,000 over list price.
Wow.
So it's pretty bizarre market right now.
It is. It's very feels a lot like 2007, and where same thing in our area is just here in Orlando, like stuff is sitting on the market for less than 24 hours, multiple bids, and selling well over list price. So it's crazy. What price point do you guys like to focus on?
On the non-performing note side is probably in that 100 to 350 range is probably where a lot of it is. I mean, I'm sure we have some stuff lower and some stuff higher, but I'd say the bulk of it is in that. I don't want to say bread and butter. I don't know. You gotta watch what you say these days.
Yeah, be careful.
But I think it's in that. You like that because there's more buyers, and we a lot of times we're near major MSAs. We not always buy a lot of rural stuff or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. That seems to be a sweet spot that's kind of consistent and sells pretty quickly.
Well, it's where's the product at too. So I'll bet you, I think I think we have a stat, something like 91% is in like 26 to 30 states, something like that, where the bulk of the portfolio is. And a lot of it's just population driven more than anything. You know, it's just, you don't have a lot of Wyoming loans or Vermont or something. There's not a lot of, you know, there's no people there. So.
Do you like buying in your home state?
I could give two monkeys. Like, I'm not going to go look at it in my own state, let alone any state.
Right.
I mean, it was really rare. I mean, at one time we had one on an island. It was a house on an island. It was my one partner took a little kayak over towards it or something. But yeah, normally, we don't really care. I mean, we did that in the beginning a little bit. We want to go drive by and peek in the windows or something, but you kind of outgrow that pretty quickly. I think. I'm sure there's somebody doing it.
Yeah, for sure. Tell us a little bit. I guess you're a world famous author. Tell us a little bit about your book.
I wrote a book, Real Estate Note Investing with Bigger Pockets, and it's a pretty good intro book into the note world. And I don't know that it's a how-to book. Some people say, well, it wasn't really a how-to book, but there's a lot of components to the note business. How do you do it all in a little paperback, right? It's a little tough.
Yeah.
It would be like, what's a how-to book for real estate? You know, it would be a pretty thick book, right?
For sure.
It was, I went through and I saw what you were saying when people were saying it wasn't a how-to, or, you know, I was like, yeah. And people were saying it was an autobiography. I was like, that's what I liked about it. I liked the fact of hearing your story because I got to understand your experiences of taking the, you're taking a HELOC or something that like you were talking about before, taking a HELOC and then flipping them and doing it. I guess it was with a family member. And so all the different methods, I was like, oh, that's pretty neat. You know, like, I don't know if, you know, you can still do that same strategy, but a lot of it was like, that's really cool to see how it came, where it came from and how it's evolved.
It's just use the leverage from a small scale as I grew, it got bigger and bigger, you know, over time. And, it's still about leverage. Everything's about what can you, you know, even my coaches that I hired at some point was, what are you going to leverage in the next 6 months of your personal and business life that's going to catapult you or 10x you? You know, like Tony Robbins or something. You know, it's just, it's a great question. And you just, every now and then you ask the same question back to yourself. What is it? What is it that's your bottleneck? What's holding you back? You know, that kind of thing. And it's always something different as you evolve, right?
Yeah.
I know in the beginning of the business, especially, you know, we always looked at the three pillars. It was always capital, sources of product, and scalability. You know, and hopefully only one of them's the problem. But you know, in the beginning it was cash. You didn't have enough cash, and then you had a lot of cash, and you didn't have enough product. Now you had a lot of product. Now you need more help. You know, it's just like this. Yeah, it's not a vicious cycle, but it's always a cycle, and or a balancing act. And
that's so true. I mean, I know just from my experience in the note business, it's been just that. It's like so much product. I don't have the capital. I get the capital product, you know, I now I got more capital than the product I can get. And then it's the help. You're like, man, I can't wear 7 hats today. I need to bring some people in here. And it's a constant, you're running away. Yeah. Building the business. So for somebody who wanting to jump into today, they're like, okay, I'm learning about notes. A, do you think it's a good time to get involved in notes? And B, what would you say are the first steps, you know, maybe the first 3 steps that you would tell them?
I mean, I tell my kids and grandkids the same thing. I mean, it doesn't matter when you start. It doesn't matter what it is you're starting at. It's really the same thing, 3 things to me. It's always get educated in the space, network with people doing it, and try to find a mentor or coach or somebody you can shadow, or you don't have to necessarily go out and get burnt on your first deal. You can shadow someone else's deal or look at their like case studies, or, you know, look at what they're doing and, you know, try to add value to somebody and they'll probably help you out. I mean, let's say I mentor a lot of people these days, from a time constraint thing, but, you know, I still try to help people out and answer people's questions if I can or whatever.
I think you do a great job of that in the Bigger Pockets forum. See a lot of answers, a lot of really well thought out, you know, responses.
Yeah, some days, but yeah, we try. Believe it or not, I do it a lot of times when I'm driving or, my son typing, I'm talking or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow, that's smart. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do stuff like that. We'll answer people.
That's good. So do you think those strategies like the leverage, the using your home equity lines, is that a good way for people if they're getting started? Is that a good, like, look, here's a little source of capital? I mean, real estate's kind of been going bananas. People have equity. I mean, I guess that would be better than using it to buy a boat maybe, but I don't know. What's your thoughts?
I'm mixed on it. And probably because, years ago I did a little financial planning and what I started to learn was there was different kinds of people. Mm-hmm. And if I told people who weren't good with money, for example, who were maybe not very disciplined or whatever, mm-hmm. and I told them to go get an equity loan, they would go to Vegas and, we own those loans. We own those delinquent mortgages where the guy says, I took out a $25,000 second mortgage for my roof. And you're like, really? That's an expensive roof. He goes, well, we went to Vegas too, for 2 weeks. Geez. So, you get this, where I bought another car and defaulted and, that's great. And live in the car. So it's, some people, you got to be careful what advice, I'm not a big fan of giving, sure, I'll tell people a path that I took or something I did or a strategy, but does my strategy work for everybody? And the answer is maybe not, because some people are, they're going to do the wrong things with certain things and it'll go awry. And, I don't want to see people get hurt. But for me, it worked well. What's the rate of return of the equity in your properties? For me, I started out buying a lot of properties with credit cards, especially in the beginning, and fixing them up with a credit card, refinance them, pay the credit cards off, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden I built up a lot of equity. The next thing I had a couple million in equity in some of my rentals. And, if I didn't put lines of credit on them and become a hard money lender, that would have been a big waste. If you get $2 million and you can borrow, 80% of that, you might be able to lend out 1.6 million. And at the time we might get 14% returns and be paying 4% on the line of credit or something. Nice. 10% on that. It's 160,000 a year. It's like a salary, right? Well, a passive salary like that over many years. In fact, in my area, you can pay cash for a house for 160 grand of rental property, outside Philadelphia. So, at that time. So, every year you didn't leverage, you just lost the house free and clear, basically, if you think about it.
Yeah, that makes sense, man.
That's the EVA thing I was talking about, the economic value add. I just learned of that strategy of the economic value add.
And I look at my parents or family members who, they didn't do anything wrong. They were good people. They worked real hard. They paid their house off, but they never really got anywhere. And then, all of a sudden they're in retirement. And I don't want to say they lived too long, but in some ways they did. They outlived their earnings or their equity. You're equity rich and cash poor or whatever. And it's because they weren't taught that. They weren't taught to leverage their equity. And what's the rate of return on the equity in your house? It's 0, right? So.
Yeah. That's good. Do you teach your grandkids, your kids? Like, did you start hammering them on notes and stuff like that, or was it more broad concepts? I mess
with them anyway, but yes. I know, my son Chris, when he was in high school, I used to trade options. He would trade with me and take a piece of the action. I used to make him do my taxes with me, and he would have to add up receipts, and he would be like, and I would pay him, just like allowance money kind of thing. And just doing my tax returns, because I had multiple entities and things like that, he would be, like, oh, wow, why do we have all these receipts? And then at the end, I'd say, well, this is what it saves me in taxes, and this is why I do it. And because he'd be like, is this all really worth it? So because, people just don't do that with their kids, or they don't take them to meetings. I have some friends that took their kids at very early ages to all their settlements, all their meetings, all their meetings with attorneys and accountants. They would take the kids.
Mm-hmm. That's good, man. That's awesome.
You know who does a great job of that is Fuquan Bilal. You know Fuquan?
Who?
Fuquan Bilal.
Oh, Fuquan. Yeah. Fuquan does.
He's a great father. Yeah, he's always taking his kids.
I don't think it ever hurts to do some of that. Now your kids have to be receptive to it too. Some of them are, some of them aren't. I don't know that I force it on my kids necessarily. I'm happy if they're happy, kind of thing.
Yeah, my 6-year-old came up to me and he's starting his own business. I was like, you have my ear. Do you need any help? Let me know. So it's just, I appreciate him just even trying to do something.
Yeah, no, we're trying to do the same at our house. We do the Bank of Dad, right? It's a book.
Dad, there you go.
Yeah, it's a book I read.
I would do other things too, like I know when my son was going to college, you know, he's like, well, are you going to write a check for college? I'm like, nah, that's not how we roll. You know, you're going to take a student loan, and he's like, wow, why do I need a student loan? I said, well, you know, you need skin in the game. I said, don't worry, I'll show you how to pay it back. So he took a student loan. My wife took a student loan, and the reason being is it's like free money for us. You get a student loan, easier to get a mortgage, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, and you can invest in the student loan and make, you know, if I buy a note that pays 15% return, I borrow the student loan at 6 or 7. Well, I'll make that spread, and then even when it's time to pay it back, what I did with my son is we got a reperforming junior lien for like 30 cents on the dollar, whatever it was at the time. He's basically able to pay for college at a third of the money. And then the payment from the note actually paid the student loan payment. So you have to teach them a lot about, you know, arbitrage and the spread, and sure, I could have just wrote a check to pay for college, but here's the funny part. His fiance now, actually both went to the same school, and he's like tells his future father-in-law that he basically got ripped off because he paid full freight for the same school education because he wrote the check. Mm-hmm. Whereas we paid about a third of what college cost. By doing it the way we did it, you know.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to rewind that and go over that in a couple of years.
You're gonna get emails and phone calls from Brett.
That one right there. I mean, that's brilliant. That's
like you take a student loan whether you need it or not, because they basically give them out like lollipops. If you have a pulse, you get it. You don't even really have to qualify. And even if I didn't need like, why would I take my money out of my investments to go pay for college when I can use this cheap student loan money to pay for college? And then I don't even have, a lot of times, especially on the student, they don't even have to make payments. It's deferred, right? Like, yeah. And then when it comes time to pay it back, just get a reperforming note at a discount and use the payment from the note to make the payment to the student loan. And then a lot of times you can write off the student loan interest as well. So it really doesn't make sense to pay for college out of your pocket.
No, you're getting a tax break there too.
But a lot of times it's not what we pay, it's how we pay stuff, you know? And then we do the same thing with life insurance policies, all kinds of stuff. Like we'll overfund the policy, borrow the money out, invest it in something, and the money we make from that pays for the insurance. We get free insurance or very low cost insurance.
Mm-hmm. That's actually what I'm doing right now. Yeah, kind of like the infinite banking solution.
Yeah, just like infinite banking. Yeah.
I'm doing that right now with that's one of the methods I'm using. But I mean, that what you're talking about there sounds like a second or third book right there. I don't know, I'd read that. All your different strategies of leverage right there sound really cool.
It's just like a wealth building strategies. A lot of it's like we all buy certain things, but a lot of us don't look at how we pay for stuff or how we move our money. Mm-hmm. You know, just like there's not much talk about velocity of money. We're always told to park money and earn a rate, or, you know, that kind of thing. Or we're always worried about what we're making on our savings account, or we're always worried about what the interest rate is on what we're paying, but we're not looking at the velocity of our money or the movement of our money.
I like that.
You know,
yeah.
So I was always a big, you know, think like the bank kind of thing.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
That's cool. So speaking of the bank, you've got PPR. Do you have one fund or you have several funds, and what kind of?
Yeah. And too many entities to mention.
Yeah. So what are some of your core funds?
Entities to mention under oath. Because I can't remember them all. No, we right now we have an income fund and a liquidity fund, but right now it's primarily our Reliant income fund that we have that has an 8% option, and then our liquidity fund has a 6% option that's shorter term. And then occasionally we open up a 10% option that's longer term. It's like a 3-year term. And they're typically the fund options we have these days. We also have the ability investors can compound as well.
Say that again? They can
compound their investment as well. So, you know, for example, if you put 10%, you know, in a 3-year option, you put 100,000 in at 10%, it actually comes out to be 11.6. if you compound it. So
okay, cool. Yeah, compounding always power and compound.
Return a little bit. No, that's not for everybody. Some people want the cash flow. You see a mix. People enjoy both.
Definitely good stuff. So I had something that I wanted to kind of ask you about here. In a little digging, and it sounds like it's not the first time. It says you had an arrest warrant out for one of your rental properties that you had. And I guess you said that maybe that's not the only time.
Yeah, I've had arrest warrants out on notes on properties where we had the note. I had one in Western Pennsylvania, and I'm in Pennsylvania because I was joking with my wife that it'd be awful if we got pulled over on the way to Pittsburgh or something.
Gosh.
And had a warrant out for grass or trash or something like that. But some of these municipalities are pretty ridiculous now. The one I think I wrote that you're referring to is an article in Bigger Pockets where they had a warrant out for me in a county outside Philadelphia where they were actually cutting the grass at the tenant's property, but they weren't cutting it good enough.
What?
Some of the blades of grass were growing through the fencing, and they didn't like that. So they would fine us for high grass, and it was really blades of grass growing inside a cyclone fence.
Oh my gosh.
Pretty extreme.
Yeah.
It just shows you how hard up some of these towns are for money and revenue, and they see the landlord as an easy target,
And so they can put a warrant out.
They would send you fines, and if I think I don't know if they were sending it to like an old address I had or something, that were probably in the public records or something, and then if they don't hear from you, then they put a warrant out for your arrest or something. It's pretty ridiculous, but
wow, that's
harsh.
That is harsh.
That's real harsh. Jeez.
It shows you that they're taking it to a whole nother level to get your attention, kind of thing.
Yeah, I would say so. So what do you think the outlook is for this year? Having, just come, last year we had COVID. What did you see last year versus, and how do you think it's going to affect this year?
I think last year was just mostly delays, It was just mostly delays in foreclosure or eviction. Some cheaper pricing a little bit in some areas. But some of the pricing remained high because real estate values remained high. So there was a short blip there when COVID first hit where there was some disruption, and then it kind of went back to being normal again because real estate values were still high. But I think you're going to see an uptick in distress. In fact, I know you will. I know it's coming because I've heard that it's there, and I know that the 90+ delinquency rate is pretty high with a lot of the servicers right now. So you're going to probably see some stuff start to filter out at the end of the year, next year, for sure. Where you're start to see more distress. I doubt everyone, I'm optimistic. I don't want you to think I'm totally negative.
No.
But I think, as the vaccines roll out and things get back to some level of normalcy, people will start to get back to work. There's a lot of stimulus, but you are going to see some disruption for sure. And I think there's going to be some disruptions from places where people don't expect, largely due to supply chain disruptions. I'm renovating a primary right now, and it's really hard to get certain things. There's certain appliances, there's certain types of lumber. I was building like a big portico porch thing, and I couldn't get columns, things like that, like the weirdest stuff. And I think that's actually going to get worse because once things open back up, you're going to see a lot of pent-up stuff that's coming to fruition. Everybody's ready to get back at it, and you're not going to be able to get supplies.
Interesting.
And there's going to be disruptions. You're actually going to see, I think, some businesses go out of business due to supply chain disruption, above and beyond things like restaurants and things that have already taken a hit, or hotels. I'm also seeing hedge funds. I'm seeing funds out there right now that buy malls for 40 cents on the dollar.
Yes.
I know of funds that are buying bankrupt hotels and they're converting them into affordable housing, or even student housing if they're near a university, like a Motel 6 type thing.
Yeah.
And they're converting them into some type of affordable housing. So you're seeing some of that, and I think you're going to see some probably disruption from the not just the retail side, but the office space side.
I agree. Yeah, for sure on the office space
is pretty it's a Class A space. We have a lot of space. We pay a lot of money, and we don't need it, right? So, and now everybody wants to kind of work from home a couple of days a week and come into the office a couple of days a week. It is really what the pattern that you're starting to see. Mm-hmm. So it's going to shake out that most companies need about half the space that they have. Is really what they're coming to the realization of after COVID. So I think there's going to be disruption there. Like my landlord is a large landlord that owns 210 buildings like mine in this area.
Wow.
And that's really all they really do, right? So that's got to impact them. I don't know how you come out of that unscathed. I just can't. Yeah, I just don't see that. Yeah, I don't know what you guys see. I mean,
no, much of the same. I just look at
our situation. I mean,
everybody's reducing their footprint, right?
Yeah, we had a large office and better view than we got now. But it was a nice office, but we were just working from home and just basically said, hey, do we need this much space? And I was like, I'm fine, guys. I mean, now we turn one office into a studio, and this is the only one we kept. We turned this into like a.
Yeah, we're in a closet basically now. It's like an eight. It's
an eight. That's great. No, I kid. But no, you're absolutely right. Like I'll give you an example. The landlord that I had, they were very popular landlord up until then. They were a good landlord. They did a lot of things for the tenants. And you knew something was strange because they would never in a million years let you sublease. And when COVID first hit, we reached out to them. They're like, "Oh yeah, you guys can sublease." And you're like, "What?" Wow. Because they would never let you sublease. So what's that tell you? It's just telling you they know that they're in trouble.
Yeah. It just I think it seems like also we've seen around here like rent pricing in the commercial side is just it's down. It's down quite a bit just because of
New York City, like my youngest lives in Manhattan and over 300,000 people have left the city already. Yeah. That's a big number.
That's huge. They're moving here.
Rents have fallen 600-700 for his same place.
Wow.
I gotta move, he's right. Because and in fact the building he's in is almost empty. It's wow, it's a pretty good sized building. So yeah, they're definitely feeling it. I don't care what they pretend. I see New York could be having a little bit of a tough time coming back from it because it's not it's not like Washington D.C. where it's all government or something. It's a different animal, and there's a lot of office space that's not really needed.
What does that do to all the property taxes at that point? I mean, that's the part for me kind of freaks me out. We're just wondering, if all these buildings are vacant, who's paying for any of these taxes in the city? It sounds like a disaster just waiting to happen.
It is. I think we're going to see a lot of crazy stuff, honestly. So I know everybody's been, it's I don't want to say the calm before the storm, but it is a little bit of that. And I think you're definitely going to, you're seeing some stuff today in the markets. And I think you're going to see interest rates start to inch up some,
Yeah, I've seen that. Sure. Yeah, they went up today. Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah, they went back.
They might start to level off some of think about it this way. If rates go up a little bit by the end of the year and if supply of distress hits the market by the end of the year, what will that start to slow down, some of the real estate market? I'm not saying it'll tank it or anything, but it might start to level off or not be as frothy and robust like it's been, because even if I buy a fix and flip, and the rates are higher, they can't buy as much house, or my cost to renovate's higher because my interest rate's higher, or I can't offer as much for the flip now. It's gonna, what kind of compound effect will it have? I'm not a genius, I'm not an economist, and I'm not trying to pretend I am, but just kind of my gut.
No, I kind of agree with you. It's that butterfly effect. It's it's just going to affect the ripples, and I think this is a little bit of the calm before the storm. I agree with you. I don't think the real estate market's going to tank, but I do think.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be 2008 again. The other piece you don't really know is, there's been so much stimulus. You don't what are all the impacts of that? It's almost like COVID. What are all the impacts of it, right? Mm-hmm. And then we also don't know what this administration will do. We have an idea. That taxes may change or capital gains or something like that. But what's that all going to look like,
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of early to tell.
Yeah, so maybe Q4, Q3, around then you'll start to see some
I think, what do you think? Yeah. I think the stress you can see definitely at Q3, Q4.
Yeah, we're seeing a large percentage of some of the servicers, like well over 10% of being 90 days plus.
Wow.
So now that doesn't mean, hey, everybody gets back to work, but I just don't see everybody going back to work or going back to work in the same way or going back to work with the same money.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
I think there's going to be some kind of a shakeup with some things. Now, I get they want to raise, things like, minimum wages and things like that. And I don't know that that's necessarily causing some of the inflation you're going to see. But I think you're definitely going to see some of that inflation just from people trying to make up for lost time and lost revenue. And, pretty much everything's going up. I go to this little produce stand every week and I buy the same stuff for the last, I don't know how many years. And all of a sudden that's a third more now, and I literally buy the same thing every week almost, so it's like, and I think we're all going to start to feel that in a lot of areas.
Yeah,
it is.
Factors are probably up. They're all raising their rates. Labor's up.
Labor's up, contractors up, but it's also that you mentioned it, like getting the wood. Like the price of lumber has tripled. Yeah. I mean, my buddy's a contractor, and he's like, it's insane to where how high the price of materials has gone. He's like, I have to do all my jobs cost plus just because I start a job mid last year, and by now, like the cost has gone up so much.
Yeah, if you bid something a while ago and now you're just getting to that job, I mean, people are actually redoing their bids. I mean, and I'm sure customers aren't loving that right now, but if you say no, or if you don't want to do it, I'm sure they have plenty of other jobs they could go to. That's really what it, it's a vicious cycle right now, and our supply of labor is a little wacky too, I think.
Yeah, I would say for sure. So, anything else?
Yeah, I wanted to know. I mean, we have one conference we have not yet been able to attend because it sells out pretty fast. It's Mid Atlantic. Is that going to come back at any time?
That's a good question. I get that a lot. Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like it's like one of those things where we missed out. Like, cause you never know when he's going to come back.
It was every time we did it, it was a great time. Have a lot of great people. We do a lot of great stuff. But it is a big undertaking. So it's a good question. We kind of paused because of the situation. It's something we got to think about. And we used to do a high net worth group as well. And then we're like, we're reevaluating what we want to do and when and where and how. So it's, things are changing. That I do know.
Yeah, very much so.
But we're anxious to.
We might, I think my next mastermind is in Sarasota, so I might be down your way. So,
cool.
My friend's yacht. So,
nice.
We'll have to let you know when that tickets go on sale. There you go.
Here we go. Yeah, sounds fun. Cool.
Yes. I think I'm friends with him on Facebook. I see he's on his
in
yacht.
Sarasota?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Good stuff, man. Well, hey, we appreciate it. Love to, glad you come on the podcast. Love to help you sell some assets. If you ever want to put anything on Paper Stack, we're here for you. But thanks for all your knowledge, and, look forward to, I'm sure there'll be a follow-up one a little ways down the road, man. I appreciate it.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.